So on the bench today we have something I honestly don't get a lot of on my bench. Very popular radios and have been around forever, but just a standard Cobra 29 LTD Classic. The most produced CB radio in the history of the world, I guess you could say. This model number has been around since the 23 channel days. So, the original Cobra 29s were 23 channels. Old crystal synthesized radios. Over the years, when they went to 40 channel, more modern PLL synthesized radios, and this was back when Uniden used to actually still make the radios before Cobra took over in what was it, like 2011, and yeah, Cobra radios went, their quality control, they just have none now. But this is back when they still made good radios because Uniden was making them. This one was made in 1991, if I remember right, from the ID plate on the back. It's one of the Philippine versions. Customer sent this in to have all the electrolytic capacitors replaced and a transceiver alignment, and that's it. He even has the original box for it. So there's the original early 1991 vintage Cobra box. Cosmetics, it's in very good condition. Yeah, got tape around the bezel to protect it. The one cover here, I think it was this one. Yeah, this one's got a little bit of damage to it. It's a little bit tweaked in there on the side. So I'll have to get that straightened back out. But otherwise, the covers are in really nice condition too. The bottom cover is fine. It's just the top one's got a little bit of a bow in that back corner. Now, the customer wanted to know what the sensitivity was on this radio before and after the alignment. So I have it connected to the communications test set over here. I have the radio on channel 19. So we're injecting a 27.185 megahertz signal. What we're measuring is SYNAD, or SYNAD, depending how you want to pronounce it. I've heard it pronounced both ways. And you can see we're hovering right around 12 dB SYNAD, which is what we want. SYNAD was basically, that measurement was basically set up for two-way communication systems and for clear reception of voice communications. What you want is 12 dB SYNAD at the minimum input level. So the lower you can get the signal going into the radio and still attain that 12 dB SYNAD, the better. And right now I'm putting 0.38 microvolts into it. That's EMF. So actually, if we flip into 50 ohms, that's 0.1. Out of picture. That's 0.19 microvolts into 50 ohms, or minus 121.4 dBm. So it's pretty good. He said I think it had an alignment at some point in time. Now apparently, I'm not sure who aligned it. Have no idea. Said they have some special method. I guess not familiar with doing, or doesn't have a SYNAD meter. Does some kind of special tuning. I guess for maximum sensitivity. Whatever. I go by basically published standards and well-regarded industry standards. And, signal to noise and noise ratios, and SYNAD measurements are industry standards when it comes to two-way communications. And I prefer the SYNAD because the D in that name stands for distortion, which is something your normal signal to noise ratios don't take into account as distortion. So that's why I highly prefer that when I'm checking receiver sensitivity. It looks like it's completely unmodified with the exception of this little brass can right here. And what this little brass can is, I'm very familiar with what these are. It's a SP1, actually I think it's SP1A speech processor. It's just a small compression module. So the only thing that affects is, audio coming in off the microphone for transmit audio. It's just a compression module. Other than that, I don't really see... Now, if somebody said they had done an alignment on this, I don't want to go calling anybody a liar, but if somebody did an alignment on this, They did not do a full alignment. They may have aligned the receivers. There's no real way of telling if the receiver alignment was ever touched. But from the looks of it, the transmit alignment has never been touched in this radio. It is as it left the factory. The VCO voltage adjustment and a couple of the transmit adjustments in here are sealed in wax. And this looks like factory wax. Because usually, when I do an alignment, I do the same thing. I will reseal these cores with wax, but it's fairly obvious that I have resealed them with wax. My wax is never going to be the exact same color as the stuff that they used in a radio. And the wax in the radio, well, it's old. It's been in here for, this radio, like I say, it's made in 1991, so it's got a few decades on it. And it just, the appearance, these adjustments here have never been touched, and all three of these would have had to have been touched if you actually did an alignment. This one here should only ever be touched if you have a, come back camera, if you have a spectrum analyzer, because that's the 54 megahertz trap circuit. And I've shown, I think I've done videos on that before and complained and grumbled enough about those. But yes, people go turning that screw, I'm getting more power out of my radio. Yes, you are, and every single ounce of power you get out of your radio when you adjust that is in the 54 megahertz. It's in your second harmonic. It does absolutely nothing for power on channel. So unless you have a spectrum analyzer, leave that alone. Usually it's very, very close to factory adjustment because that's something, it's just wire, okay? It's just a trap circuit. It's a very simple filter circuit, or filter network here, to prevent 54 megahertz second harmonics from getting out on air. I will adjust it, but like I say, I have a spectrum analyzer. But yeah, just a few things here, like I say, just looking at it, it doesn't look like it's ever been adjusted. That just looks factory. There's no sign that the wax has ever been scraped off and new wax installed, so it will be aligned when I get done with it. There's really no signs of any work really being done to it, like I say, other than the speech module. So let me get to recapping. We'll do an alignment. And what I say I had to go back and look at the video myself here. I think I said, 0.19 microvolts into 50 ohms for a synad measurement of 12 dB. So we'll do the recap, do an alignment, and we'll see what the receiver sensitivity is like after I get done. Okay, so the recap and alignment's been done, and it does receive a little bit better now. So I do believe somebody did do something with the alignment, because it was very good before. It's slightly better now. It was 0.19 microvolts. Like I said, I'd have to go back and look at the first section of the video. I think it was 0.19 microvolts into 50 ohms for 12 dB synad, and right now we have 0.07 microvolts for 12 dB synad, or 0.14 EMF, or minus 130.1 dBm. So very good reception. Like I say, I do believe somebody did align the receiver, because out of the box it would not have been that good. The transmitter, on the other hand, the transmit circuitry, I honestly don't think anybody's touched that. The VCO voltage was not adjusted. It did need to be adjusted. It was off a little bit, nothing that would affect the radio, how it operated. But yeah, the transmit circuitry was not aligned right, basically out of the box specs, I guess you could say. And the 54 megahertz, actually I did get that a little bit better. I probably dropped that an extra probably 7 or 8 dBm in signal level reduction. So there you go. There's a nice Philippine made Cobra 29 LTD Classic, ready to be put into service, and it's now a listening monster. Oh, I did notice one other modification someone had done, and I really noticed it when I was actually changing the electrolytic capacitors. I noticed 2 solder connections where it looked obvious someone had soldered, but there were no leads sticking through the board. That's because someone has installed a larger reverse protection diode. So they did the right thing instead of leaving 2 of them in there. Because I've seen people do that. They just add another diode. Actually, if you're going to increase the size, you know, the current capacity of the reverse protection diode, you should remove the factory one. You shouldn't just keep stacking them up in parallel. So whoever did that did the right thing. They removed the smaller one and then installed a larger one. So, only other thing was remove the corrosive glue, which honestly in these things, you're going to do that probably when you pull the caps, because they pour it around this electrolytic capacitor, this one right here, and as far as caps go, that's it. So when you pull those caps out, that glue's going to come out, and then right down here, there's some usually on either side of this ceramic filter. Just pop that out, but yeah, take that out, and that's pretty much all there is. So there you go. There's a nice looking, clean Cobra 29 LTD Classic ready to put into service.